What's up, everyone? I'm John.
And I'm Denison.
And this is the Catchup. This is the idea. This is what we're doing. Okay, so Denison and I, we've known each other for a long time. How long have we known each other, man? What, 7 years?
I think so. It feels like longer than 7 years, but I'm pretty sure it's about that much.
I know, yeah. People think we knew each other since birth and stuff. But anyway, so what we're doing is we don't get to see each other as much as we'd like to anymore. We pretty much grew up together. I moved away for college and stuff. I'm living
He's
up
a traitor.
Yeah, I know, but Texas is still my home though. So, but I'm living up in Wichita, Kansas. Denison's still down in the Dallas Metroplex area. But so we gotta catch up every now and then. We gotta chop it up and see what's going on and stuff. But yeah, so the idea is, we do that. We get to share it with y'all. We're gonna talk about trending topics that are on our mind. Just hopefully something that people can relate to, and get something out of. And that's what we're hoping for. And then at the same time, provide that brotherly atmosphere. We're catching up, we're chopping it up, we're doing our thing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And we're just inviting anyone else into our bromance to enjoy the wonderful time that we have, just hanging out and catching up with each other and, talking about relevant events and things that are important to us and things that are also going on within our own lives. So.
Right. So, yeah, and so that's the idea behind the title. And then, we're just catching up, it's hopefully something you can relate to. A lot of people, they grow up, they get good friends, they get really close with everybody, and eventually you gotta move away. Yeah, eventually you gotta find your own path and stuff, So, you always hope those paths will reconvene, but every now and then you gotta catch up. That's what you gotta do. So, so anyway, let's catch up, man.
All right, bro.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you, man?
Oh man, not much. I will say, at work, we're rolling out a whole bunch of new stuff. I work in IT. I work in IT, so I work with a container store. You would think that they wouldn't have too many IT problems, but apparently they do. So, they hired me.
Right.
So right now we're doing a whole bunch of PC refreshes for our stores, and it's a very challenging ordeal, and I'm trying to learn as I go, which is, if you haven't been in IT before, it's pretty much what you do all day, every day.
Yeah. It's
kind of nice because you get a new experience, but at the same time, it kind of gets a little annoying and kind of, very, very monotonous.
Yeah. Well, it's consistent, right?
Mm-hmm. It is very consistent.
Yeah, there's a plus and minus to that, always, for me, my job is the exact opposite of that, right? It's nothing, no day is ever the same as the previous day before it. And so it's sometimes, I work in news, right? I work for a local TV station, here in Wichita. Produce the morning news, which means I work overnight. So, we're recording this late at night. This is my morning. Denison's yo, when can I go to bed? But,
that happens sometimes.
But, so that provides its own challenges. I'm sleeping during the day, I'm working during the night. But with news, every day is different. Every day is a challenge. And so you just, it's like grass is always greener type of feel, you know? You're like, man, like, I would definitely take having a chill day, you know, and just like having something that's steady every day. And then on the opposite side of that, other people are like, man, I wish it would swap up every now and then, you know what I mean? So
exactly.
It's all about that perspective. But yeah, you've been working long hours or what?
Yeah. Actually, last Thursday, I did a 12-hour day. That was not fun.
Dang. 12 hours. Yeah.
Pretty much, that was our first store that we were doing our stuff on, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah. So it's one of those days.
Yeah, so it was a lot of cleanup. That was not fun, but we learned a lot, and I'm getting better every day.
Yeah.
And I know that next time I won't do the same issues or the same problems that I had last time. So
that's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. It's about improvement. It's about bettering yourself. I mean, it took me moving up here to kind of realize that. So like Denison and I grew up in Allen, Texas, right? So
super small town, but with big dreams.
Right,
that's
like
the best way to describe Allen.
Right, like especially when we first moved there, Now it's got its own thing going. Now people know it because like, oh man, it's got the biggest high school football stadium in the country, or in the world, whatever.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so we like cross paths. Like we've always been talking work. We always been chopping it up about work because that's how we met. Like our high school, man, it was so big. It was so big, man. Like people talk about big high schools up here in Wichita. I'm like, no, you don't know, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, they had you packed in there like sardines.
Right. Yeah. Graduating class of over 1,200 people. And, so like Denison and I, we never would have crossed paths, like ever. And, the only reason,
for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hung out with a different crowd. You were doing your thing with band and all that. Well, hey, at least you were doing something. I didn't do anything extracurricular in high school, man. Not one thing. Like, nothing. I was like, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna slide right through class, and I'm gonna deuce out. Like, I'm out of here. So
just here for the credits.
Yeah, like just give me my A or even a B. A B is fine. Just give me a B. And I'll be out of your hair, man. That's all I want. And so, I didn't think of it like that then, but looking back, I'm like, yep, that's how I was living life. But no, we worked at a place called Home Goods. You may have heard of it. It's kind of like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, So, yeah, and we met there and been friends ever since, pretty much. But all of our friends, all of our like really good friends came from that place for some reason, right?
Yeah. I mean, as interesting as Allen is and as crowded as it is, I feel like, or really I should say, as frustrating the experience of Home Goods was, it was actually an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience for one, just learning, hard work and ethics. But at the same time, it was a great place to build long-lasting relationships and friendships.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we have, many of our great friends, like you said before, from Home Goods, just because the place was really great. I mean, I don't know. I think the fact that we barely worked probably helped.
Right. Yeah. We had time to connect.
Yes, exactly.
Time to connect.
Exactly. Home Goods was one of those locations that, you see those workers walking around, or actually I should really say you don't see them walking around. They don't exist. It's a department store that you go into. You don't see anybody until you check out.
Yeah, it's like the Home Depot of the Home Depot of like home furniture and stuff.
Yeah,
it legit is. But no, I mean it's so true. And like, So we can try to get a couple of those people on here eventually, just to catch up all together and kind of get their perspective on some topics. We'll get into some topics here in a minute, but So yeah, I mean, we've kept in touch ever since. I've gone down to Texas several times. Denison's come up here several times. He was just up here a couple of weeks ago, actually. That's where we got the idea to do this podcast, actually. But
it was an amazing experience.
I know.
Always.
Yeah. No, likewise, man. I mean,
and just in case you guys were wondering, Kansas actually does have some things that you can do. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that there's a huge amount, but there is something to do there.
Hey, at least in Wichita, there are things to do. Like
exactly.
I can't speak for like the outskirts of Wichita or the outside area. Like we got like the world's largest ball of yarn, and I think that's about it outside of Wichita.
Yeah, I mean that's not the best thing to be known for.
Yeah. I had a girl come up here and visit me from Texas one time, and she was like looking at stuff to do, and she was like, "Yo, you guys have the largest ball of yarn?" She was like, "I have to
we gotta go see that."
Yeah, I'm like, well, it's a bit of a drive. I ain't gonna drive for no ball of yarn, but anyway. So like, I forgot to mention too. So this is how we're doing this podcast. So we obviously are not in the same room. You can probably tell a little bit, but Denison is all comfy inside his room down in Texas. I'm up here in Wichita. We're using Skype audio, so shout out to them 2 times.
2 times, not sponsored.
Yeah, not sponsored. Oh, I'm not getting any payback from this. I ain't making any money from this. But yeah. So anyway, that's kind of how we're doing. Well, good, man. I'm glad that work's keeping you busy and stuff, and like idle hands are the devil's work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but no, that's good. For me, like, it's just been a lot of stuff. We'll get into it later. Cause I've been working on a bunch of projects that, hopefully people will check out and like, but yeah, other than that, it's just been work. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I can't really say a whole lot, but some of it I want to be a surprise, but, yeah, I've been working on this music. I've been working on such and so forth, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So,
of course.
So yeah, is that what's been going on with you, man?
I mean, that's pretty much it for the most part.
Yeah,
it's just that, and I've started to do some online classes, trying to learn a little bit more.
Oh, for real? What classes?
Well, so I do computer networking, or computer networking is what I got my Cisco certification for. So
yeah.
I'm working to actually, what is it? Beginning of next year, I have to retake that. So I'm working on taking some classes to kind of refresh. My job does use a little bit of that experience that I learned in class, but I need to learn a little bit more so that I can make sure that I'm a lot more proficient at it.
Yeah.
And also kind of relearn everything that I had learned,
Sure.
If you don't use something, you forget it really quickly. So
that's so true. It's so true. It's like riding a bicycle, like everybody says that, but it's like riding a bicycle. Like you gotta keep. Oh man, I used to take martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. So like I was one of those kids, all dressed up in white,
mm-hmm.
just like looking really tiny, but at the same time, like, I'll whoop your ass. Yeah, and I know you did too, but but yeah, so like it was like they always teach us like muscle reflex, like muscle memory,
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd have to like get into that and repeat something enough times to where eventually you're making the move, in self-defense, of course, that will like disable a bad guy, stop him, whatever. And so, that's why I tried to keep it like, and just, it kind of like opened my eyes to like everything else, You know, like, well, if I repeat this enough times, it'll be muscle memory. Like, your brain's a muscle too, you know, so it'll be like
it is
muscle memory there. The exact same type of thing, you know, exact same type of thing. So
the more that you do a certain action, your brain is tracing a path. And the more that you do that path, I should really say, the more that you do whatever it does that creates that path in your brain, the more the deeper that path becomes, and the stronger and much more ingrained that path is in your memory. So that's the reason why you kind of remember things a lot easier after you've done it a lot more, a bunch of times.
Exactly. So. Yeah, exactly right. Well, that's good, man. So yeah, you're going back to school and all that stuff.
Yeah. You know, IT, you always have to learn. It's a continuous battle of learning and, you know, becoming better and all that other stuff. So,
sure.
In truth, though, that's just life. You always need to be learning. You always need to be growing and changing. You know, we're never the same day to day.
That's right.
Different actions and different things that we do change us and affect us in many, many ways, and we always learn and grow. So always strive. You know, I always find that it's best to strive to learn and grow and become a better person.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, every day, like, and sometimes, you know, those things, they don't really permeate until like later. But like, you know, it may be months, even years down the road. You'd be like, why am I doing this? Like, why did I just say that? Why did I just do this? Oh, it's because that happened, like, or I did that, you know, however long ass time ago.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, each day matters, you know. You may go through life like thinking, hey, like today, you know what, I'm gonna just coast through life. Like, no. To a certain extent, you gotta be on your A game every day, you know.
Exactly.
Whether it's in one facet or another, you know, you can't just afford to slide through life. And I mean, life's more rewarding that way anyway.
It really is. You learn so much.
Yeah, you get more out of it doing it, you know, big time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all about bettering myself, and you know, and that's what we want people to get out of this too. Is hopefully, I mean, we're going to talk about all kinds of things. You know, it's not going to really be restricted. Hopefully, it's something people can relate to, and then hopefully, you know, they get something out of it. You know, I mean, we're still learning. You know, we're in our
still growing.
Yeah, I mean, we're young. You know, so we're still trying to figure life out ourselves. So. We're just figuring it out like everybody else is, you know, but.
Exactly.
But, you know, so we got to figure it out some way. Anyway, yeah, no, so where are you going to take the classes at, man?
Well, actually, my work's awesome, and I have a license. They gave us a license to use for Pluralsight. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've not heard of that.
It's a site that you can use to learn about all sorts of stuff. And it's actually a really amazing site because you learn about, you know, it takes you through classes just as if you were in, say, a normal classroom or whatever, but then you also get little proficiency, gosh darn, proficiency tests, dealing with, you know, how well you're actually learning it. You know, if you need to go back and kind of study a little bit more on this one spot. And it's actually kind of cool. Before you even start the course, you get to take a test to see how knowledgeable you are on that specific subject.
Okay.
And it'll kind of gauge, depending on how well you do, it'll gauge where it needs to put you in that course and kind of guide you into that certain direction. And it's, you know, they have really well done courses, and each course is built for, you can actually choose courses just for learning, or even if you want to do a course for a specific certification. Like I'm getting ready to do, you know, my CCNA, and I'll be doing my CCNA security.
Okay.
So right now I'm pretty much doing courses in those directions.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, so it kind of like tailors itself to you though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it like tailors itself. That's good. You know, like man, education, I feel like, has come such a long way in the past couple years, you know. I mean, there's still a long way for it to go, you know, and like the general education, you know, and like grade school and stuff, like that is a long way to go. Because I mean, it's not necessarily a fault of their own, but you know, we all know teachers don't get paid what they need to get paid. You know what I'm saying?
No, they don't.
So if they're not getting paid what they need to get paid, how's the school system getting paid what it needs to get paid? You know, so, but higher education, I feel like has come such a long way in like providing you an experience that you and you alone will get something out of it. It may not work for the next guy, but it doesn't have to because it works for you. He'll find something else that'll work for him, you know?
Exactly.
And that's just something that like, man, like when did we start college? 2012. Like that's just a couple of years ago. Like it didn't have half the stuff. Like I just feel like it's grown exponentially in the past like 5 years. You know.
I mean, I think the fact that the internet has grown so much, or really just how well we've become, how well we are connected all together, has helped a lot. To be honest. College is an amazing experience, but
it is.
For my type of field that I went into, I probably would have been better off if I would have went directly into the workforce and also learned some of the stuff on hand, you know, hands-on at the job, but at the same time, you know, doing like online classes like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Through like a website, or even you can learn a lot of stustuff on YouTube. Strangely enough, you know, there's just a huge amount of stuff that you can learn and grow in. And a lot of times it's very easy to understand. I mean, a lot of these courses are actually really well thought out and really well done. And there's also a lot of just online in general. There's a lot of content that you can go out there and you can look for free. Yeah. And so it would have actually saved me in the long run some money. I mean, happily enough, I was very fortunate to not have to pay for a lot of my college, or really any of my college. But at the same time, most of that was because I went to community college, and then I kind of went through a certification route.
Right, yeah. So, you took a different path.
Exactly.
As did I, you know. Yeah.
Exactly. So the amount of money that I actually had to spend wasn't that fast, but I know I saved a lot more if I would have been able to do that. But these are things that, you know, you kind of learn as you go, and they're not something that is exactly told to you.
Right. Oh, man. Okay. So, like, YouTube, so true. Like, I've been learning how to do a freaking podcast on YouTube, right? Like, oh man, like working musically, I'm a musically inclined guy. I've learned so much just in the past like month from watching like pro tips on YouTube, and it's like changed. But like outside of YouTube, like, so I went to Wichita State. That's why I moved up here. Like, you know, it was awesome. Like, it was a good time, and it was like growing exponentially while I was there. But, you know, so I majored in journalism and all that stuff. I had to take classes where I'd do, stories on, you know, just as you would working for a news station. You'd have to find a story that's worth telling and then put it together. And this is like not print journalism. This is like broadcast journalism. So I'd have to film it and mic it, and man. So when you talk about getting by on a budget, right? Like, I did that. Like, so I had like my iPhone 6S, right? But I use that to record audio. I plug one of those lavalier mics, you know, those little tiny cords with the little like tiny mic at the end.
Yeah.
I plugged one of those into the headphone jack. No lie. If you set the volume level on this right, like, it sounds crystal clear. And so, so I record the audio on there. Same time, I'm filming with my iPhone 4S, okay? So I got two iPhones. I got two phones, right? And but one of them is like deactivated. So anyway, I'm just using that for filming and stuff like that. And it looked great. But what I would do is I would go over to NIAR, which is the National Institute of Aviation Research. They actually built a wing onto the Wichita State campus. Wichita State, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you're looking for a college, like, I'm not going to speak on Wichita as a whole, but Wichita State, oh man, I love that place. I wish I could go back in time. Like, I was not a partier. I was not any of that. Like, I just liked being on campus. Like, it was the only time in my life I was like, I love school. You know what? Like, I'm a nerd. Like, I'm cool with it. I'll be a nerd all day.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, like, I loved it. But, like, so I'd go there, and they would always have a story, man. Like, they were always doing something cool. And, like, most recently, obviously I don't go there anymore, but most recently, they, like, got an F-35, which is the most advanced fighter jet in the world. They had an F-35 delivered there so they could study it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is stuff, right, that's, like, top secret. Like, a lot of it's confidential. Like, Wichita is, like, called the air capital of the world, right? So, it doesn't quite live up to that name anymore. I think Seattle's got it beat, but still, it has to put on a show. So they had an air show a couple weeks back. Air show was awesome. They got the Thunderbirds there. All these guys doing tricks in planes. Huge, massive planes. Like, you got the plane Tom Cruise jumped out of on Mission Impossible, right? Like, all that stuff. So they have all this. And then, you walking through and they just put on a show. I mean, it was a good time. But the F-35 they had there, and they had the entire cockpit covered because they didn't want any spies to be looking in the cockpit to see what was there.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, but even still, these students at Wichita State get their own, like, F-35 lent to them that they can go through, they can look at, they can study, and then learn from. And I'm like, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure there are still certain parts of it that are confidential, but,
of course.
Yeah, so, like, how cool is that? And I'm like, man, it's got me wanting to go back to school. Like, I'm not trying to get an engineer. I'm not trying to get an engineering degree, but damn, if I don't want to, though. So, but
like,
no.
I might as well do a career change to aviation right now.
Right. Like, I don't know if there's a way to do journalism in aviation, but no. I'll be writing articles for those Sky Mall magazines. The planes. But, so sorry, I got the sniffles. But
Sniffles.
The sniffles. But so anyway, it's funny you mentioned going back to school because I've been thinking about it too. The more I get into audio and all that kind of stuff, I kind of want to go back and get an audio engineering degree. It was in the same department that I majored in, believe it or not, because journalism and video production, graphic design, audio production, all within the same communication wing. So really, I've taken a lot of classes that you already need. And I'm like, man, like we said earlier, like, it's all about bettering yourself. It's all about where can you take it to the next level? Where can you grow? And man, it's tempting. It costs money. It costs money. It's probably more expensive now than when we went, but man, like, it is tempting, like you said, for sure. So, all right, man. Well, hey, look, we're gonna get into some of these topics that we have. I think the engineering or the engine side of things is gonna be a perfect transition.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, so we got some topics. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And not just politics, not just what's going on in Washington. We don't need to talk about that. There's plenty of podcasts out there talking about that, right?
Exactly.
So there's a bunch going on in the world right now, and we just gotta catch up on it all, man. We haven't talked for a little while. We haven't been able to talk for like a little while about this kind of stuff. So,
of course.
So, we're both fans of cars. We're gearheads. We're fans of different sides of cars, which we'll explain here. But yeah, so Denison, you got stuff to talk about with the Paris Auto Show?
Yes. So right now, Paris. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna pop this up on my desktop here. Okay. I'm gonna look up some of this stuff that you're talking about.
I mean, it's pretty amazing, man. Well, yeah. I mean, I think some of it's cool.
Right.
So, I mean, right now, Paris Auto Show is going on. I think the press got to do it a couple of days earlier, which, of course, because the Paris Auto Show itself, just when it's open to the public, is, if I'm not mistaken, is October 4th to the 14th.
Yeah.
But the press gets in there 2 days early or whatever.
Oh yeah, we get special privileges, man.
Oh yeah, man. Press gets some cool stuff. So there's a couple of things that I thought were kind of cool. There was a point where I had a really big heart for BMW. So when I got to see that they are releasing their I just now noticed that. That's cool too. Anyway, sorry. I noticed that they are releasing their newest 3 Series, or I should say their 2019 revamped 3 Series, which is pretty amazing. Okay. And the coolest part about this is what is amazing. See, I'm big on the tech side, so one thing that I always thought was really cool about BMW is, and sometimes they have cool innovations and stuff like that. I always like that they're big focus on performance, but at the same time, they've got some luxury feel to it too.
Yeah.
But this one is really cool because they will offer the 3 Series, the newest 3 Series, with laser lights.
What?
It sounds insane, but it's pretty amazing.
What?
That's an option. So
how do you do that?
So BMW has actually worked on this. The only car that they had this before with, at least starting with straight production, they later on started retrofitting some of their cars with this, was the i8, which is an amazing car. Love that thing. But I mean, of course, they can put that in that car because it was insanely expensive anyway.
Yeah. Right.
But laser lighting is the way they described it as is that it's a bunch of tiny little lasers focused.
Are we talking Star Wars lasers, just blasting people? Just blasting people?
No, we're talking about the realistic lasers.
What? Right.
I mean, have you? I'm sure you've seen some of the YouTube videos where they have this super high-powered laser or whatever that they're shooting.
Yeah.
And you're able to see it from the sky or you're on the ground and you're able to see it float up into the clouds or whatever like that because it's just that high powered. So they're using those types of high powered lasers, and they're aimed properly so that way they're not burning people's eyes out.
Yeah, right. It's like a bring down aircraft and stuff.
No. So it's super highly focused and It's got a little bit of magic in there. I'm not fully sure on exactly how they do it, but it's pretty much like they have they've got the normal headlight housing or whatever, and then inside there's another little swoop. If that makes any sense, it sounds a little weird. Yeah, a little swoop inside the headlight where the lasers rest on, and it's like a very it's a ton of little lasers there, and and then when you turn them on, and they have the highest amount of power that they can go for or whatever, it shoots out a beam of incredibly white light, and it's very bright on the street, and it actually illuminates the road incredibly well. BMW, I'm super big on lighting. I retrofitted my own car with a projector set up so that I could have my HIDs in there and made sure that I had the proper amount of lighting. I just like lighting. I don't know. It's
interior
my thing.
And exterior, right? On your old one, you had LEDs in the interior, right?
Mm-hmm. That is very true.
It was nice.
I was fun with those. So I just like lighting. So BMW is kind of cool because they've got the laser lights and the way that they adjust. They actually have a sensor in there where it'll adjust normal levels. So, when you're driving, it'll just stay at the perfect level, so that way it's not going to interfere with anyone who's driving by or whatever like that.
So it adjusts by itself?
Mm-hmm. It adjusts by itself.
What? Does this thing drive itself, or what's going on?
I mean, they just got really good technology like that. I mean, BMW and really all the other automakers have already had like high beams that adjust themselves. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of like auto high beams. So the concept behind that is pretty much you have your high beams on all the time, but it will adjust depending on, if someone's close to you or not. So if there's a car coming, what's really cool, what Audi, I think it is, or no, it's Mercedes. Mercedes and Audi have pretty much the same type of deals, but at least for Mercedes, theirs it's like a bunch of tiny little LEDs, right? So it's showing out, illuminating the whole road with their high beams. But once it sees someone coming, it actually turns off the LED that is specifically pointed at that exact car.
What?
Or the amount of LEDs that it takes to, to pretty much gray out that, darken that location of where that car is. And it does that as the car gets closer, so it's just constantly moving. It's an amazing technology. And Audi Audi has one that does the exact same thing. And so the laser lights will do the same thing. The way BMW implements theirs is that the actual headlight housing actually moves and swivels around, so that way it makes sure that the light isn't actually messing with those other types of drivers. And in some cases, if there's like a lot of drivers, it'll just turn off for just a split second, so that way none of those drivers have to worry about getting blinded in the face. Because we've all driven and had someone who don't have headlights that adjust that well, and
for sure.
They burn your eyes out.
Yeah, they haven't adjusted their headlights, man. People up here, man. I don't know what it is. Like, they think their high beams are their like driving lights. like you have to get LASIK eye surgery, like just driving down the road 5 feet, man. Yeah. But okay, so like my question is this, right? Mm-hmm. So you got a car. Now this is the 3 Series, right? So
this is the 3 Series.
So like even like a 325 or like your base model 3 Series is gonna have these laser headlights, or is it just like the higher end?
No. It's an option, so you can option it up into with your 3 Series. I'm sure the base 3 Series isn't gonna come with it, because I don't think you can add it onto that option package. But any of the higher trims, you'll be able to add that into their car.
So they got like a hell of oh my god, that's gotta be a hell of a price to pay for that option.
I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, the price didn't go up too much.
Really?
I mean, the price stayed around the same. I think just with that option, it adds a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so like my other question, all right. So let's say this BMW, okay? Eventually the laser wears out. Right? Like you gotta replace the bulb or something, right? Like how does that work? Like because it's already expensive enough with these LEDs like you're talking about, like Audi Mercedes got to replace. It was even more expensive before that, like with the HIDs like you're talking about with your car. Those are expensive to replace too.
They are.
So like, how do you replace a laser?
So, to be honest, I wouldn't know, but I will say that, we're dealing with different types of bulbs and stuff like that. So, HIDs had a lot better lifespan than normal halogen bulbs. And then when you deal with OEM HID bulbs, they're technically rated for the life of the vehicle. Now, that's going off of whatever the OEM thinks the life of the vehicle is, but usually that's at least 100,000 miles. And so you would change it then. LEDs move up. So they actually last even longer. And again, that would I'd probably even go up to maybe 150,000 miles or maybe even like 200,000 miles before you even have to change those LED bulbs.
Really? Okay. That's
so
crazy.
I would imagine that the laser lights would be the same type of longevity gap, pretty much the lights would last longer than the actual car would ever be driven to. Again, we're in new technology range, so who knows exactly how long, but I would imagine these lasers aren't going to go out that often, but if they do, I would pretty much say that you'd probably have to change the whole headlight.
Right.
Like you just take the whole headlight out instead of actually, since it's actually within the housing itself.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So that solves that problem theoretically, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not a problem, but I'm curious. So if it's a laser, right?
Yeah.
So lasers, like for example, like those laser pointers, like you can go to jail for however long if you point one of those in an aircraft because they just go forever.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, is this? Maybe I'm just sounding dumb, bro. Maybe this is a dumb question to ask. But if these are laser headlights, like we're talking like RoboCop headlights, right?
Yeah, sure.
So like, will they light up like an eternity? Like say, or I'll paint a picture, right? So like say you're at the top of a hill, right? Highest peak. But you're like angled down at a town 40 miles away. Will those lights travel all the way to that town 40 miles away?
Probably not, because they don't have enough power. So
they're not.
Yes, technically, or go ahead.
Well, so like basically, so like those laser pointers, a lot smaller laser, so they have a lot less to power. Therefore, the power they do have, they can send it a far distance. These, a lot to power and not a lot of space to do it with. And plus, what would be the point? So it won't go forever, basically.
Well, so even those smaller lasers, you have to have like one of the super, super high powered lasers to actually get it to go really far.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're talking about like MIT level super lasers, and those are the ones that are in the labs, and you see on those like pictures where you'll see it, the laser light is reflected in like different little mirrors in multiple ways or whatever like that.
Well, like the Hyperloop too, right? The Hyperloop in Sweden. I don't know if people know what we're talking about, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Actually, I don't think I do. Does the Hyperloop have a laser deal?
Yeah. They like smash particles.
You're talking about the hydrogen or high. Gosh darn it, what is it called?
Yeah, it's something. It's something. Hold on, I got this. Massive man.
The super collider.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, yes, that's what it's called.
So they're not using lasers. They're just like grabbing the particles. I don't know exactly how, but they're just grabbing the particles and just smashing them together.
Okay.
But
I'm sounding super dumb over here.
No. I mean, that's just kind of like it's a common misconception. So
right.
If you were to buy anything off of China or if you were to go to like on eBay or whatever like that and buy like a big super high powered laser or whatever, you can get one of those lasers that are super powerful, and that requires a lot of power. So they're using tiny, very, very tiny lasers, that are high powered, but at the same time, they don't have enough power to extend far enough to where it would go like, I don't know, across the United States or whatever. Like if you had a BMW 3 Series, on top of a hill or a mountain or whatever in California, you're not going to go to, on top of a hill in Maine and see that BMW's light going all the way across. It's not a lighthouse.
You guys can like flash your high beams at each other like Jeep drivers do.
Mm-hmm.
You like states away. You're like, hey, there's another one.
Yeah. Hey, man. Yeah, no, they're not powerful enough to do that.
Okay. All right.
They're really only powerful enough to brighten up the road, far enough into the road that's necessary for you to, see.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
so
cool.
that's how they engineered it and stuff like that.
All right. Well, let me ask you this.
Mm.
What was your was that your favorite thing from the Paris Auto Show? What was your favorite?
So that was probably one of my favorite things from the Paris Auto Show. I mean, that was also kind of one of my sad ones too, because the 3 Series also marks the end of, 3 Series won't be featuring a manual transmission. Now, we've always kind of known that the manual transmissions are kind of dying, but
right. But you're like a car guy. Like the average consumer doesn't really care about that, but like people like us that actually care. Like I'm not saying other people don't care about cars, but like we like the driving experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah. I mean, you get that taken away when they go away from manual transmissions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of sad. But and that's really only the 3 Series in America, apparently, across America gets kind of screwed over. But
right.
I mean, at the same time, though, majority of us actually use automatics, so it makes sense on their part.
Sure.
But if I had to talk about my most interesting thing that came out of the auto show, it would probably be Hyundai's new i3 Fastback N model. So
is this I'm looking here. Is it like the Kia Proceed, like the same chassis and everything, or is it different?
It's the same platform. So the i30 is the same platform as the Hyundai Elantra that we have here. They just call it differently. Actually, it's closer to the platform that they have. It's the Hyundai Elantra GT.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's actually that platform. Exactly that platform. But technically, the suspension-wise, they're all the exact same in chassis and stuff like that. So that's actually probably my most exciting thing. Even though that's not something that's going to be coming to the States, it's still really cool because I thought the design of the i30N was a cool car. And now seeing that it's a fastback, it's got a fastback design, I thought that was really, really cool. And they've been kind of giving us little hints and snippets throughout the upcoming months to the Paris Auto Show. So I was ecstatic when I saw that.
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's something near and dear to your heart. That other car I was talking about with the LED lights inside was the Hyundai Elantra that you had. That was an older model. It'll always have a soft spot in my heart because of that, too, because we rode around doing so many
crazy things.
Yeah, just teenage things, man. And early 20 things, too. but that's another story. But, no, I'm looking through here, right? Mm-hmm. So crazy that Suzuki is building a baby Jeep. They call it the Jimmy, which I don't know how that is not
funny.
Well, I don't know how that's not copyright infringement because GMC used to build a Jimmy too. But looking through here, the thing that catches my eye, and maybe this is just the bougie North Dallas part of me coming out, but man. This Ferrari Monza.
I saw that.
I gotta tell you what, man. Like, okay, so I'm reading here. 500 will be built, okay? Mm-hmm. So it's only going to be the elite taking a look at. And even the elite of that group will be the ones buying it. But you gotta think about, like, so this is going to cost more than $1 million a piece, right? Mm-hmm. And like when that first started happening, I think this is right. Like the first one that did that was the Bugatti Veyron, right? And
that was the first car that hit the million mark, if I'm not mistaken. It might have actually been the McLaren F1. It might have been. I can't remember exactly.
That could be. I think you're right. But that car put Bugatti on the map, right? Everybody knows who Bugatti is. And by the way, quick side note, I'm seeing that that Lego Bugatti was there. Oh man, I'm hyped. Oh man, that thing had me so hyped. So like I produce morning news, right? So I put that in my morning show. I was like, yo, people need to know that there's a Lego Bugatti that actually drives. Oh yeah, that was like the big news of the day for me. But anyway, so looking at this, like, it's like not even a shock anymore. Like, when that Bugatti came out, it put them on the map because people were like, this is exclusivity, this is performance. You know, I don't know if you guys know the show Top Gear. Denison and I used to be fanatics of that until they changed up the whole cast, but they did some crazy tests with the Veyron that like made it even more kind of exclusive, kind of more legendary, you know? Like it outraced a freaking fighter jet, man.
Yeah.
Like,
at least acceleration wise.
Yeah. Like it went down a runway and back faster than a fighter jet could take off, go up to 15,000 feet and come back and go back across the runway.
It was like, pretty insane.
That's insane. I know it sounds like a lot, but you know, it's a fighter jet we're talking about. Anyway. But like now, like it doesn't even seem like a shock anymore to have a $1 million car, you know?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Well, okay, I'm just reading here, okay? So, they got a one-seater and a two-seater. I think, personally, the one-seater looks better. It's called the Monza, and it's based off the famous racetrack Monza, or Autodromo de Maggiano, or something like that. Or Magalore. Yeah, Magalore. But yeah, that's all the Italian I know, and pizza and stuff like that. But anyway, so it looks better to me. But like, you got 810 horsepower, 6.5 liter V12 that will hit 60 miles an hour in less than 2 seconds, and you know that all 500 of these, all 500 people that buy one of these are not gonna take it. They're not. These things aren't even gonna move.
Oh, probably not. I mean,
they're going to sit in the garage and be an art piece until, you know, Future and Drake and Bill Gates and all these people get older and just like sell them off. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I don't know. This is whack to me, but you know, I appreciate the performance value of it. I appreciate the nod to racing. Honestly, I'm a big racing fan. I'm a huge racing fan. I'm always like watching a race, or I'm playing Gran Turismo, racing people online. You know, if you know what Gran Turismo is, it's kind of this legendary driving simulator. And you know, I'm racing people online on that. But so I appreciate it for that. I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I ain't trying to put a down payment on $1 million car.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think that's insane, I mean, Bugatti actually is debuted their Divio, I think it's called.
Yeah, the Devo.
Yeah, Devo. Yeah. And that's a $5.8 million car.
Yeah.
With only 40 examples.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like, it's almost like it's competition now. Like, how exclusive can we make a car? It's like, I'm like you said, I'm pretty sure you're right about McLaren and the F1 being the first $1 million car. But that was back in the 90s, like the early 90s, 94.
Which is an insane amount of money back then. I mean, still an insane amount of money now, but still.
Yeah. But now, so it was what? Like almost, well, okay, let's say 15 years before there was another $1 million car even thought about. And now it's like, all right, well, we know there's a market for this stuff, so let's keep doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're like a guy I know I'm thinking way too into this, but if you're like a guy that works at Scuderia Ferrari, their racing house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you put all this work into aerodynamics and suspension and engine and all that stuff just to know it will never be used by a majority of the owners. Like, how would that feel? How would that feel? That would just, it would just be so, I don't know. That, like, I almost just want to steal one for myself just so I could take it out and drive it every day. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, it kind of, hey, I mean, I think it's more of an achievement for them that, you know, they were able to make such an engineering marvel. I mean,
yeah, like
when that car came out, you know, for the F1, it was an amazing engineering feat. It was the fastest car in the world. I mean, no one else had ever created a car that way. I mean, and this was them leaving no holds barred. You know, they just said, hey, let's just create this awesome car. Let's just make something awesome. I mean, They lined the engine bay with gold to save or because it was a good heat exchanger. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what other car company do you think does that?
No, not a lot. Not a lot. Yeah, no, that's for sure. But all right, well, I'll tell you what. This, like, you could either have a car like that that's over the top, $1 million, or you can have something that's like, you know, robotic almost in how it gauges its headlights or whatever, and like we keep moving closer and closer to self-driving cars and AI and stuff like that. And that just leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, man. Like, just technology. Like, where is technology going? Because we keep getting these things that, to me, so, like, we're both 90s babies, right?
Of course.
Like, that's what people like to call us anyway. So.
Or like, now I think the new term is called millennials.
Millennial, yeah. But it's normally said like this. It's said like, millennials.
Like, that's true.
Okay.
That's the more.
Yeah, like y'all had your problems too, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, but no, I mean, you know, so what I'm saying is, like, we grew up at a time, to me, like, when we're growing up, or as we've grown up, there's like been a mix of you have this, older way of doing things, if you will, a more conventional way, an analog way, if you'll follow the analogy, to now, you have an entirely new way of doing things and digital way of doing things. I mean, even a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean like 10 or 15 years ago, we would have like been going to a radio station saying, hey, we have this talk show format that we want to try. Obviously, there'd be a lot less saturation in the market because a lot less people would get the opportunity, you know. But that would be what we're doing rather than recording a podcast, uploading it to, you know, iTunes and Google Play and wherever else gets this. I haven't quite determined that at this point, but if you're listening to it, you will have determined it. So, but like now, it's like, it seems like everything's different. Like, it's almost like toilet paper is outdated at this point. Like, we need like a new, like, digital tablet that wipes our butt for us.
So you're just pretty much saying that, like, how far do we go until we stop?
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because to me, and maybe this is just my taste, because it seems like there's a market for this stuff. But to me, we're getting into a point now where more and more they're building things or designing things that I'm like, why would anyone want that? You know? Like, I'm talking like Alexa, right? Oh man, I probably just made every listener's Alexa go off. But anyway, so Alexa, like, they do a good job of marketing an Alexa. They do a great job of it. But like, why do you do we really need that? I mean, do we really need that? Because ideally, even if you want that kind of artificial intelligence assistant that helps you keep track of things and your calendar and all that stuff, most people have that ability on their phones, you know.
Yeah, but that is true.
But yet they market it in such a way that, you know, it's like, oh, now I gotta have it, you know. And it's the same thing with self-driving cars. So do we really need self-driving cars? I could see that if you live in a place like New York or Los Angeles or maybe even Dallas, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But on the whole, do we really need self-driving cars? I mean, that's going to up the price and production costs and all that kind of stuff. And so, do we really need that? I don't know. My opinion is no. You know, but at a certain point when you start to get into this kind of communication lifestyle where you're trying to output content and media and that kind of stuff, well, when it comes to that, you have to stay up with the latest stuff or you're going to sound dated. And people are going to realize you sound dated, you know, because this is totally off on a tangent. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but like, you know, people classify people, to me, more now than ever. And so, like for music now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get music, and then like if I put something out, because I play guitar, and I'm able to put together a whole thing, guitar wise, in addition to all the other instruments. And so if I play, oh man, for my music nerds out there, if I play D-A-E power chords, then they're going to be like, oh man, that's a good classic rock sound. It sounds like AC/DC. Like, no man, it sounds like me. You know what I'm saying? But like, if I like do an intro with an E, or I'm sorry, a D-A-E chord on a keyboard with a synthesizer, then they'll be like, oh man, it's got like this kind of like pop sound to it, you know? Mm-hmm. Oh man, like they can have a good beat behind it. And it's like everybody just wants to classify everything. So like on that forefront, you kind of got to stay up on the currents a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you have to stay with some sort of a trend, because sometimes that's the best way for you to reach an audience.
Right. Well, and so you gotta stay current. Well, I mean, art in a whole is like a reflection of the society, you know. Now, in my opinion, you should always be able to do whatever you want to do, you know. But obviously, keep current elements in there. But anyway, when it comes to technology, though, like what? So I listen to this other podcast. It's called Talkative. Okay, Talkative. And they were talking about AI and technology and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the guys was like he kind of admitted this was like him theorizing. He wasn't exactly saying this is happening. Mm-hmm. But with like Alexa, right? Mm-hmm. So I know I keep referencing it. It's just an example. Because Apple's got its own version, Google's got its own version, all that.
Yeah.
But like Alexa's in every home. Alexa wants to be your remote. Now I saw Bose is like teaming up with Amazon, and you can access your Alexa from your Bose headphones. Okay. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you're like, man, they're listening to me all the time. Like there've been criminal cases that have found that or Alexa is recording like 24/7. You know, mm-hmm. And so it's why, well, this guy theorized, you know, they're recording us to emulate us for artificial intelligence, you know? Mm-hmm. And I know that may sound crazy, but at the same time, like, all these companies that are doing this kind of technology are into AI, you know?
Yeah.
And so if they could record human interaction and response and reaction, mm-hmm. they could create a more realistic artificial intelligence, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what I have to that. So there actually is an actual program from Adobe that does an amazing job of actually recreating people's voices by just getting small samples. Enough to where it's incredibly hard to tell which voice is which one is the artificial voice and which one isn't.
That's scary. Scary.
I forget exactly what it's called, but yes. So there is stuff like that. There's also video artificial intelligence that's able to recreate, like, say I wanted to be Obama right now, right? And I was making the video. Well, there's a program out there, or programs out there. I think there's about one right now that gets the most traction and is actually the most advanced. It's able to use, it's analyzing all my facial features, and it's able to pretty much put, by just getting like a picture, if I'm not mistaken, emulating exactly what he would look like. Kind of the same kind of deal. We kind of already do this with Snapchat, with those filters. So it's doing the same kind of deal, but just at a much higher level. Yeah. And this is AI actually assisted. So crazy. The thing is about technology and AI in general, and all these companies about them listening to you and all that other stuff. So by using their services, we actually gave them consent to do this a long time ago.
We did.
It's the same thing with Google and all that other stuff. Like, Google probably knows far more about us than we even know about ourselves.
Right. Just sign those agreements. You don't even know what you're signing,
Exactly. But at the same time, though, for like Google, and for instance, by just using it, that's technically signing an agreement with them saying, hey, we have authorization to, we're giving you this service for free. So in return, we have to, get some sort of information or payment. You don't get these services for free because nothing's ever for free.
Right.
You're actually treating your own data, your personal data, and your own personal, your own personal identification as like a person and personality and all that other stuff, all that information that you put into that free product, you're giving that as payment.
Yeah.
They always get payment. It's just in a different way that you can think of it.
Yeah, so, it's information,
Exactly. And I feel like in some ways this is what we get for wanting things to be for free. They have to make some money somehow.
Yeah.
How do you think that Google became such an incredibly big organization? It's because they were able to get our information, sell it to advertisers, and go
sell it. Yeah, sell it our information. That's exactly right. And it amazes me how many people aren't fully aware, that this still happens. It's been going on. It only gets more serious. But it's funny that you mentioned the AI emulation of people.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. Again, working in news, and especially overnight, you see all these overnight news broadcasts, and they're wrapping up what happened the day before. So there's concerns, not just in the midterm, not necessarily in the midterm, but by 2020, this will have gotten so good. This technology will have, with the face masking and with the voice emulation, because they did to Obama, like you said, they did to Obama. So they're saying that it will be a real problem come
the next election.
Yeah, come the next election, that there are going to be all these candidates that are getting slandered because they're digitally recreated saying something that they didn't actually say. And that is so crazy to me. It goes back to what I was saying about how the old way of doing things versus the new way of doing things. Not too long ago, YouTube wasn't even a thing. And now we have people that are able to potentially change global politics just with AI,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not even talking about, like, iRobot stuff. Like, yeah, like, that kind of stuff scares me, too. Like, I watched a couple of episodes of Westworld, and I was like, nope.
I mean, don't watch Black Mirror, then.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, okay, don't even get me started on that. But I'm like, I'm terrified. Like, let me get done with this. But, yeah, so, like, you look at this, there's so many other things to worry about before we even worry about our robots going to take over the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really our own well-being and our own information that we need to, maybe I'm just sound crazy. Maybe I'm just, sounding like some dude who's like living in a bunker right now and like waiting for the fallout to be over. Like,
I mean,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't think you have any, I think all of your fears are valid. I think right now we're at an incredible time for just one, normal technology, because it's insane just how fast technology has grown, even though it seems like it's kind of slowed down, during the years. But I think it's just become, it's growing in a different way than we would want or than we were thinking, Right. A lot of times we always get these big grand thoughts of the future of being like Back to the Future stuff, like, oh man, where's my flying cars and stuff like that. But it's more now, it's more software driven, more AI driven, because in truth, those are things that are actually going to help us far more in the future. So I think right now we're at an amazing crossroads to where we need to figure out which way do we truly want to go with how we want to use this technology correctly. It's amazing that we can do these type of things, but we want to make sure that we can do them correctly. There's already AI that are able to distinguish that they're starting to learn how to distinguish, fakes versus reals and stuff like that. They're training AI to do this stuff. So, because the beginning of these, changes of saying, someone's able to mimic the appearance of someone using a software program all came from, it sounds kind of weird, but it's the deep fakes or whatever, because that was, funny enough, a very highly sophisticated program, even though it's just being used for the wrong reasons.
Right.
But it kind of shows that as long as we use this technology correctly, we can actually benefit a lot. Like AI actually has a very big help for, say, healthcare.
Yeah.
Intel, or actually IBM, is using Watson, for instance, to help our healthcare grow.
I saw that.
And actually do, prescribe, diagnose patients as well as prescribe the correct dosage and all that other stuff. It's doing a lot of amazing things to help further make our diagnoses of diseases, and as well as like long term like what is it? Long term, like making sure that we're able to see stuff before it happens as well. So AI can be used properly. It's great if we can have a human-like AI robots for, like, say, like elderly homes and stuff like that. Because those things will help people who have like dementia or who are having Alzheimer's, help them continue to have that human interaction with someone, and also kind of slow that process that they're going through. And sometimes that can actually help prevent that kind of stuff. Because I think there are also studies out there that are saying that, when you have elderly people who are living in seclusion and stuff like that, they tend to get these types of diseases a little bit earlier, rather than ones who are having more brain activity, dealing with, talking with, either whether it's family members more or whatever, they're able to talk and converse with them a lot more. So AI helps a lot. It's just, we need to make sure that we're using this new amazing technology that we have in the proper manner.
Exactly. And all of this is about to pick up. even more. Like, you think it's already moving fast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with the advent of 5G, replacing 4G LTE, which from my understanding, they're gonna literally the Wi-Fi as you know it is not going to be a thing. You're not gonna have a router in your house, right? Sorry, you will have a router, but there will be no, fiber optic cable or some type of wire line that goes to your house to provide that. That's going to be the old way. What they're going to do is provide 5G over the air, just like you get 4G LTE, and then your router will capture that. Obviously, they have to have a way to charge you, so your router is going to capture that, and then you will use 5G. And so two
really,
things.
Your router becomes more of an access point rather than an actual router itself.
Exactly. So 5G replaces that, and then on top of that, blockchain, which is what IBM is using for Watson. And blockchain's a whole other thing, man. We could get into that.
Oh yeah.
We could go a long way with that. Maybe that's another episode. Maybe that's a topic for another episode. But as far as this goes, like, I think we just need to be careful. My man Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX, all that stuff. He's talked about how artificial intelligence could be the ruination of mankind. Speaking specifically about robots, about that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that. But in the meantime, I think we should enjoy this kind of technological revolution that we're having. And, just make the most of it and see what comes from it. Hope for the best, So,
Exactly.
But look, man, with that, let's take a break. Come right back. And,
all right.
We'll have one more topic and we'll get out of here.
All righty then.
So what do you want to talk about next?
So, since we were going with the topic of technology, I was thinking that dating here and now probably would work out pretty well. So, the state of dating is really interesting. I feel like it's in this strange gray area, especially with the integration of technology.
It's in a weird place, man.
It's very strange. As you know, I've been trying to do a little bit of online dating.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah. I'm happy about that too. I gotta say, I'm happy for you, man. It's worked out, like, surprisingly, you never know how it's gonna work out.
Yeah, semi. I mean, it's a really different thing. I think it's cool that I'm able to, meet these people who are in my area, but I don't, I probably wouldn't have met them organically.
Right. Yes.
Normally. I think that's kind of cool. But at the same time, I do understand that causes some other issues with that. But I think that, online dating is cool when it's used properly. I feel ghosting does seem to be a little bit more of a prevalent thing now since,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Tell them what ghosting is.
Okay, so ghosting is like, you're vibing with someone, right? You're talking with them and stuff like that. And then just out of the blue, they just stop texting you.
Yeah.
We've all done this before because, not going to lie, I've done that on accident.
Sometimes you have
it happens. I mean, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you just lose interest, and instead of, I guess, really being the mature person and actually saying, hey, I don't really find this conversation interesting because, it's kind of awkward in general, but you're just like, I'm sorry, I'm not really feeling you. Right. I don't want to talk to you anymore or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Where to be, that would be the most respectful thing to do, but it's so easy for us to slide into the like, all right, well, they'll get the point if I just don't talk to them.
Exactly. Rather than just
block their number or whatever.
Oh my God. Yes.
So,
oh my God.
That becomes a little bit more prevalent because it's so much easier when, especially since you don't even know this person, right? You've never even met this person. You've said like 2 text conversations with them, and then you're like, I'm not really a fan of them. Peace out. Or you met someone else. So that's another problem that I feel like that kind of needs to be addressed at the same time. I feel like right now we've become online dating is a great tool, but at the same time we tend to use it as like a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
So we get to see all of our
that's so beautiful, bro. That's such a good. Oh, I love it. All right, go ahead.
So I mean, we get to see all of our cool, entrees. What do I want to pick? Okay, I like that one. Ooh, I like that one.
Number one, number two.
Exactly. So you pick your number one, then you start biting into it, and you're like, not feeling this. All right, let me trash this one. Let me go to the next one because you have exactly. I mean, you have a menu of assortment of different people that you can talk to.
Right.
So it becomes so easy to just say, instead of, hey, let me wrap this whole thing up and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not really feeling you. I don't feel like I want to be romantically interested in you. Or I'm not romantically interested in you and I don't really feel like I'd want to talk to you. Yes, that's an awkward thing, but at least you're telling that person, hey, I'm not feeling anything here, and you're giving them some sort of closure. When you ghost them, you just say, hey, nah, I'm good. I don't need to do this anymore. I'm out. Peace out. And then the person is just like, what did I do wrong?
Exactly.
So at least there's some closure there, and that kind of...
Right.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to agree with you. I mean, you got people that, look, we've all done it. And the only reason I said that sometimes you have to do it is because, man, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm not going to name names, right? But
some of these guys be thirsty, though.
Well, yeah. So like, you mess with Bumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Bumble, I feel like, has an added layer to it because, like, it allows the girl to talk to the guy first. Like, that's the only way y'all can talk.
Mm-hmm.
And, not all these girls out here are good, right? So you can't really just say, oh, that's 100% fair. However, I will say in this day and age of the, hashtag Me Too, like, all that, it's like a good way to go, and for the girl, because then they don't get hit up by all these creepers online, and like, man, like Tinder is such a smash fest, right? Like,
it really is. I mean, most people are on there just because they want to, I don't know, you want a quickie.
Yeah, right. Like, and they'll say that's not why, but we all know that's not true. So, but like, again, we've all ghosted somebody. I've done it a lot of times since I moved up here. And I'll tell you, like, I don't know what it is with these Wichita women, man. I don't know what it is, but man, I've had to ghost my fair share of women since I moved up here because they just don't get the point. But like, anyway, that's not a fair generalization. I love Wichita women. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast if you're listening. Anyway, but so anyway, the point is, like, you gotta do it sometimes. But on the whole, it's like it's just allowed people to really avoid like their actual true feelings or actual what they perceive as confrontation, and just do away with it entirely, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're not really forming that really good bond that you get. I think that's another thing that we're kind of forgetting, and I think it's because we've kind of gone away from the normal traditional dating or whatever, but like,
right.
We forget that those awkward moments that you get with people, those are the things that actually build a relationship.
Yes.
Those are the things that, I mean, like, think about it. You can think of it as like when we were first friends, you were awkward as heck. I was awkward. You were awkward. I mean, your first comment to me was like, Denison. I was like, that's the weirdest thing ever to say.
Why would you say it like that? Like, man, yeah. I was weird in high school. I'm not gonna lie, yo. Like, I don't know why you were friends with me back then, bro. Like, I cannot imagine.
I feel like those moments at least show that we're vulnerable, and it makes us at least be more honest than anything else. When you're awkward, you can't be any more honest than you already are. Because usually you're already feeling uncomfortable. You're sometimes you close down, but sometimes you're just being yourself. At least when you're doing that, you get more real conversations, more real experiences, and you're able to grow and bond with that person.
Yeah. Oh, real quick side note. Yeah. You know what we need to do? We need to get our friend Devon up here. He's like the third piece. I don't even know. He's like the guy that he's just like the cherry on top, right?
Oh yeah, man.
And so we need to get him on here and then just talk about how we all met and that early come up, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, you know, to what you were saying, yeah, it's like for me, why I would go on dates, because I haven't had to do that for a while. I would actually like it. Maybe this is the wrong way of looking at things, but I would actually like it when the girl would show up and be kind of nervous. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because to me, if you get to know someone over a digital medium, no matter how that medium is, you're not actually getting to know them. Mm-hmm. And then, for me, it was flattering to me to see a girl would be just as nervous as I was. You know, because, you know, I think if you're really interested in somebody, you're nervous. That's just how it should be. Yeah. And so, there's nothing that will supplant human interaction. Although I will say, I never would have done online dating a couple of years ago. And this goes, along with what you're saying. I've seen you work through it. You know, I've taken a look at it, and I've seen my brother work through it. It's just like you said. You can get number one over here. You can get a Big Mac. You can get a Big Mac, or you can go get a classic chicken sandwich, or you can get a double cheeseburger with mac sauce. You know what I'm saying? You got all different options. And it's all right, well, what am I feeling today? Am I feeling this type of girl? Am I feeling this type of girl? And really, you're not just doing a disservice to a girl, but you're doing a disservice to yourself. You know. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side of that, in this day and age, we're such a workhorse society, man. It's just
so much
work. Like Rihanna said it. And so you know, looking at that, and a guy like me, right? Mm-hmm. Bumble would be a good tool, working overnight, because really, on the whole, how am I going to meet a woman? You know, just being out and about. I'm working overnight, sleeping during the day. Sure, I go out in the evenings every now and then. But on the whole, how am I supposed to be sociable? So, you know, I feel like for people our age, that is expected so much of us. So much is expected of us. Mm-hmm. To work and quote unquote pay our dues and do this, do that. That by the time that you actually get to the point where you would have time to go out on dates and meet people and this and that, you're too old, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, you're exhausted.
Yeah,
because we have to focus on establishing ourselves before anything else.
Yeah. It's not that you're too old. It's just that, you know, people like to get married young and stuff like that. So your options become limited. But I don't know. I'm a guy anyway. I could go on and on about this all day, but I'm a guy in the first place that believes in fate. You know, call it cheesy or whatever. But I always believe that you know, I dated a girl that, you know, ended up getting with one of my good friends right after we broke up, and you know, they've been engaged twice now. Mm-hmm. I think the second one's still going, but the point, at last check, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is, you know, if they get married, I don't feel any type of way about it, because, you know, we both have faith, you know, we both go to church every Sunday and, you know, participate in our churches and stuff. And so for me, I don't know, I just don't trip about it, because I feel like if someone I was interested in gets with somebody else, then that's how it was meant to be, and there's somebody even better out there for me, you know.
Exactly. And, you know, that person, if anything, you have to remember that, it worked out for that person, and it's a good feeling when you know that at least someone was happy out of a sad situation in some ways. Someone else is able to also get their fairy tale or whatever, or someone else is able to meet that person, even if it might have been out of circumstances that weren't exactly the most favorable. At least, there's a good outcome in all of it.
Yes. And so, like, back to online dating, I think that too many people don't have that mindset, and maybe it has nothing to do with online dating or social media as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people have always been like this, and because of the ease of access of social media and online dating, they allow themselves to continue to act that way. Oh, this has to work out. Oh, this has to be the one. The dogs, the cats, the white picket fence, all that stuff. This has to be it, because if it's not, then everybody else is going to know,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to have to face the world, quote unquote, that this didn't work out,
Yeah.
And I'll put it to you like this, like, social media has hurt dating so much,
Mm-hmm.
with either the perception of something happening that's not, with another
Mm-hmm.
person or whatever have you, or just something being taken way out of context and
Mm-hmm.
and causing a rift between two people. I mean, it's just it happens more often than it doesn't. I can't really think of a relationship I've had where it hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm. It can put a strain on the relationship.
Yes. And to tell the truth, it's made me almost just jump off of social media,
Mm-hmm.
when I get into a relationship, and I'm like, well, that's not really fair to myself, if I'm going to grow this this multimedia medium,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta stay alive on here. But I think that dating has more hurdles than ever before now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's gotten simpler yet more challenging at the same time. I feel like our mindsets have changed.
Yes.
And I think that, coupled with the fact that we're becoming a little bit more secluded and a little bit more like I'm doing my own stuff or whatever like that, it's made it a little bit harder to get a genuine connection with another person.
True. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, in a way. I am definitely of the mindset, we talked about it earlier in this podcast, of improving yourself and always improving, always pushing forward, always trying to reach new heights,
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is just my perspective, and it may not be everyone's, but in my experience, you have people that want the dogs and the cats and the white picket fence early on.
Yeah.
They want it and they want it now, and that is their ultimate goal, not not accomplishing something that they can be proud of, or not even just the experience, because I don't know if maybe it's just where I live, but it seems like everybody's in a rush to get married, and it's like, well, what about dating?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to learn who someone is, and what makes them tick, and vice versa. They got to learn that about you.
Yeah.
And really, it seems like with online dating and with where our society is right now, people look at it and they say, okay, well, this person's attractive. I have fun with them. They make me laugh. So therefore, this is the one.
X, Y, and Z. You're using more of a math problem than you are an actual compatibility deal.
Exactly.
There was a quote that someone said where it's like instead of guys saying I want to be your husband, and they should actually be, or you should really be thinking of it as like, I want to die with you. And what that really means is like, a lot of times people get into marriages, right? They start their marriage, and that was the goal. Yay, I'm married. What do I do now?
Right.
Help, because they didn't actually, they were just, that was a goal. It wasn't like, hey, let me bond with this person. Let me stay with this person. Let me understand who this person is. Let me get an actual relationship with this person. It was, hey, let me get to this point and then it'll be good.
Yes.
People don't think past there. But you have to remember that, like, marriage is a big deal. You're marrying this person for life. So that means you want to be with this person for life. And that is what you need to have the onset for. You need to be like, hey, guess what? I'm marrying this person. That means I'm going to spend the rest of my life with them. That means I want them to be my friend. I want them to be the person who I can talk to and stay with and be with. Not just because they're attractive.
Exactly. It's so heavy, the way you put it too. Wanting to die with someone,
Mm-hmm.
And it's the online dating thing doesn't help because we can all say that when we do that and we swipe right, or swipe left, that it's because we looked at the person and really considered what they said in their bio and they seem to have the same interests as us, but it's not that. You're looking at me, you're like, yo, this girl is fine, okay? Like, let me swipe right on her and then see if she's compatible. And to an extent, right? Like, that happens in real life. Like, that.
I mean, we do that normally.
Yeah, to an extent, yes, exactly. But, like, when it comes to online dating, like, you are basing your entire attraction to someone based off of their picture that they uploaded.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally judging people by their cover.
Right. Like,
the whole thing.
Man, we've all seen the memes, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't say this, but, it's like girl shows up on Bumble looking like Kim Kardashian and shows up in real life looking like Jabba the Hutt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, that was taken 2 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man, but so anyway, I don't know what people are gonna do nowadays. I haven't been on the dating scene for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm in a relationship currently. I won't probably be on the dating scene for a while. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what cats are gonna do right now, but man, it's a weird. All this that we've talked about today has kind of funneled into one, and how it all impacts our society, and it all happens so fast. It's like not even that long ago, like just 10 years ago, right? I know we sound older than we are saying this stuff, but it's true. Even just 10 years ago, like we didn't have smartphones,
No.
And so we didn't have this constant connection to other people that we truly barely even know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it was better than in one way than the other. You could argue either or, but I am saying it's different. It's a lot different.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that's just my thought on it. But I think it's about time that we wrap up, man.
I think so.
It's getting to be that time for me and for you, I'm sure. I just want to point out a few quick things from me. We're going to keep doing the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to upload at least bi-weekly. If not weekly.
We'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can do. We're feeling it out. We're learning. We're going along with y'all. So, but then, at the same time, I'm working on this project with our friend Devon that we talked about earlier for a little bit. Good guy. He's talented vocalist, talented lyricist. And so, I'm kind of a rock guy, and he is definitely more on the R&B, trap, hip hop side of things. We've been working on a project to kind of combine our talents and our influences, and it's turned out pretty well. I gotta say, it's turned out pretty well. I have some of the beats out there now that people can listen to. I'm not quite done with them, but eventually we're gonna get in the studio. We're gonna track it up. We're gonna do some vocals and stuff like that. And
you just sound pretty good so far.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, no, it's been fun. And so we're looking to release that the early part of next year. And we're gonna work on social media platforms for all this stuff. I'm working on a website right now. It's all in the works. But for now, whatever platform you're listening to this on, you can like, rate, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. It'll help us reach some more listeners who hopefully like it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal right now. But anyway, thanks for listening. We're going to sign off, and this has been The Catchup.